Welcome back to part 5. Defending yourself in court. We're getting down to the first letters that I wrote to ISS. I'll just outline you what ISS's side of the story was first, and then I'll get on to how he came to that idea. Okay, it goes on to here to say that in about 2007, Mr. Agate claimed he was forced to resign from his employment with the AFP as a result of allegations made against him by ISS Security. Correct, I did. Because if I stayed in the AFP, I would have been hushed. I would not have been able to talk, and therefore I would not have been able to respond to their continued allegations. Mr. Agate claimed that he continued to assert that ISS Security's actions in making a complaint to the AFP about Mr. Agate's conduct during the internal investigation being conducted by ISS Security was reasons which led him to the cessation of his employment with the AFP, now produced and showing in letters. What they call is evidence. They use their initials and a number, so pt5. Sounds confusing, but it's just their initials and the document number. Copy of the letter dated the 29th of October 2007, in which I wrote to ISS. Now, ISS goes down here saying that he believes the former AFP would be well aware of the level of cooperation between ISS and other officers of the AFP, which is necessary to the fully effective security enforcement of Brisbane Airport. I don't believe that covers constant harassment of AFP officers and forcing them to quit their job to prove themselves innocent. But we'll give Mr. Beadle the opportunity here, and we'll get his story out there first. He also believes that my knowledge and existence of that fact, that security is contracted to BACL to provide security screening services, and the contracts pursuant, and the ISS provides services containing highly confidential information and referred to paragraphs 68, 69 below, and the existence of such matters had been advised by the plaintiff's solicitors in any event. Well, the solicitors only threatened to take me to court if I spoke out. I spoke out, and they didn't take me to court. Not for months and months and months and years. And then finally I pushed them hard enough to take me to court. And I needed to go to court because it's the only place where you could prove your innocence, because the AFP was too busy in bed protecting their friends, as stated by Federal Agent Nick Papajamas. So the AFP wasn't going to help me. They were letting me take a kick up the bum for something they told me to do. So they're not going to help you. Your employer's definitely not going to help you. So the union wouldn't help me because it's the AFP. In fact, nobody would, because it's the AFP. And everybody knows the AFP is very good at rating people, including media and other sources. So there wasn't a lot that I could do to respond to this unless I went public. At which point, can't take it back. Everybody knows. And that's why you go public. But going public has its risks. So be aware of that, and we'll get to those later on down the track. Now, the letter he's referring to that I wrote, and I've got to tell you, I wrote it pretty good too. Anyhow, here's what it said. There's an old saying that when an assassin introduces him to you, the likelihood of you surviving that is low. He's introducing himself to you for the purpose of finishing you. And that's the theory that I put behind confronting ISS, because I knew they're a massive corporation. They've got way more money than I ever have. They've got the money to drown me for the rest of my life. So I decided I'd introduce myself. Let them know I'm coming. I didn't hide, I didn't sneak, I did it out in the open, and I did it to their face. I challenged them straight up. because I knew the nature of the beast. Now, because Peter Beadle, Neil Pitkin, Charles Blinkworth were all on their high horses, and they didn't give a shit about a little guy like me. All what my career was worth to me, none of it. So I figured I'll take their jobs, and that's what I went after. In fact, it was so successful, I'll reinitiate this, that in under 6 years of me challenging this case, they got out of security industry. Their offices were closed permanently before they sold the business. So all the management were gone. There were none left. The CEO was gone. Charles Blinkworth gone. Now Charles Blinkworth, now I was writing letters to companies who were looking at taking on new contracts and informing them that if you took on this company, you put your insurance at risk. And that was because of a case called Nardi versus ISS, where a gentleman was intimidated and harassed at work by the workers of the contractor. So not by ISS people, but by the people at the company where ISS was assigned to protect. Now, it made it to the Supreme Court, and this guy won in excess of $1.2 million. Now, ISS appealed that case, and they put it back onto the business that they were employed to protect, and said, well, it wasn't our workers that did it, it was theirs, so they should fit the bill. So by palming that off, it's the insurance of the people contracted to this company that would pay that bill. That's what I wrote to them. I just told them facts. No made up, just facts. And facts that have been through a court of law are the most useful tool that you've got to leverage to show the face of a demon. And these people were demons. Nothing more, nothing less. So I wrote to them. This is what I wrote. I said, you don't know me very well yet, but I'm writing to formally advise you that I've resigned from my 14 career with the Australian government. I have been forced to resign over the continued threats from your office under your administration. And this was to Peter Beadle. And I'd told him many times before, drop this, walk away, let it go. I'm not one you want to play with. I've told him that a dozen times before. I have the evidence that your management team did in fact attack me personally, and I'm speaking to the Queensland Police today to have Kerry Short, who was one of their staff members who they wrangled up a complaint from, charged for making various allegations against me. Now when the AFP investigated that, nothing. There was nothing to it. It was just another allegation. I will then be speaking to a lawyer to address your office with regard to the attacks that you in fact were aware of and allowed to take place. I have resigned so that I may seek compensation from your company. Working with the AFP was a job I loved and I took great pride in. Your continued attacks on my character have now been answered. If by a slim chance the Queensland Police allow the relevant ISS staff to be charged, I will make every effort to ensure that the information I'm in possession of mentally will be known to every government department, which is why I wrote to every government department. Everyone who had anything to do with security services, I wrote them. I wrote them explaining what was going on. If you wish your lawyer to contact me to discuss options of settlement of lawful compensation, failing the negotiations of this discussion without prejudice, you have been informed. You have dealt with Hayley, who was my ex-girlfriend at the time, who worked for ISS, who they believed was the leak, but she wasn't, and handled the situation as I thought you would, which was with a militant style. They were just hammering anybody who spoke to me. Now I know your response. I know this it is pointless effort to have your company sit down with me to hear what I have to say. So I'll be drafting letters and waiting for your 14-day grace period to pass, and then commence my campaign to show people your company, what your company has done and is doing. Now, that was dated 29th of the 10th, 2007. Now, they had more than ample opportunity prior to this to put a stop to this. They were told, they were informed, they were aware. They still proceeded thinking they were gods. And it wasn't until they all lost their jobs that they realised you're not. In fact, Peter Beadle was in the back of the courtroom the day I appeared in court. And when the lawyers stood up and said Peter Beadle was on holidays, I stood up and I said, well, that's a bit of a lie, Your Honour, because Peter Beadle's out of a job. He might be on holidays now using up his leave, but he's being resigned. And the judge said, how do you know that? And I held up a very small slip of paper, about 1 centimetre high and about 5 centimetres long. And it was from seek.com. And it was for the General Manager of ISS Queensland. They only have one. So if he's still got a job, why are they advertising for a new sit-in? He lost his job. Now, the claim was he had testicular cancer. Now, my last name being Agate is another name for testicular, balls. So I was his cancer. Well aware of what that meant. And that's where he lost his job. Peter Beadle, gone. We'll get on to Charles Blinkworth later on. He wasn't the only one. Neil Pitkin went as well. Neil Pitkin had a tyrant of an attitude, ex-army, worked in diamond investigations, knows his stuff. However, that temper of his, that's what brought him undone. And I played him. I pushed him and I pushed him until he burst. And when he burst, he broke the law. And that was him out of a job. I did the same Peter Beadle. I made the shoot high and right. Him thinking I'm shooting at ISS. I wasn't. I was targeting the contracts, the ones they were going to get, to make sure that people didn't hire them. And when people don't hire you, it affects your business balance. And when it affects your business balance, that's the CEO's job. So he has to be accountable. But for some reason, there was a ripple effect that I didn't know was happening. And that ripple effect had to do with his past. And his past, he was an administrator or CEO of another security company. But we'll get back to that company shortly. It's going to be a bit of a while before we get there, but we will get there, I promise you. And it will put a smile on your face. If you like these videos, please like and share. I think the world needs to know. See you again on the next part.